from the News Channel 5 network. This is Open Line.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Open Line. Glad you are with us tonight. We are talking about something we talked about not that long ago, but it's this wave of LGBTQ legislation that is making its way through the General Assembly, the Tennessee legislature. Some feel it is discriminatory, and we're even seeing the NCAA and others make statements about pulling their business out of the state of Tennessee. So we're going to talk about exactly what bills are making their way through the legislature and the concerns on the part of many in the LGBTQ community. And we have with us Joe Woolley. He is the CEO of the LGBT Chamber of Commerce. Joe, thank you for coming on once again.
Yeah, thanks for being here, or thanks for having me back. It's nice to be here. I wish I wasn't here talking about these issues. I wish I was here talking about economic community development, the jobs that we're bringing to Tennessee, the small businesses that are trying to recover from COVID still. Those are things I wish I was talking about. I wish I wasn't talking about the just record-setting amount of anti-LGBT bills passing, moving forward in the legislature.
So we'll start going through some of them. What are the impacts? The NCAA said what, and what are some of the other business impacts as you see it right now?
So we had a press conference last Monday, and released our open letter of businesses opposed to discrimination. We now are up to 184 businesses all across the state of Tennessee speaking out. We're up to 50 corporations that have signed this letter and spoken out, made it clear that, discriminatory legislation harms their ability to attract and retain talent. It harms the state's ability to be seen as a welcoming and accepting place to live and work and raise your family. We brought all of those forward. We had speakers from Amazon, Dell Technologies, both gave statements. We had Colonel Pritzker, Colonel Jennifer Pritzker, who is a retired colonel in the Army, a transgender individual who gave just a really moving statement about how Tennessee was her first home, serving in Clarksville and living in Clarksville, and how Governor Haslam brought her private wealth company to the state and made it this appealing place to have that company, and how she feels deceived by Governor Lee and the legislature and how they are not listening to businesses, not going back on their word on being good business minded, supposedly they're pro-business Republicans, but they're not acting like it. We come out with that press release, press conference, and then later that day, the NCAA comes out with a statement from their board of governors and says, we will not consider tournaments in locations that have discriminatory legislation. It was directly targeted at the athlete bill, the anti-trans athlete bill that Governor Lee has already signed and that is already law. That is a huge announcement. And what I spoke to the rest of the week was, this is just the start. We know of conventions that are in the process of pulling out of coming to Tennessee, specifically Nashville. They're announcing those as soon as they're able to, because there's a lot that goes into changing a location. There is the NCAA statement. There is the possibility of this affecting the World Cup coming here. They're supposed to come and tour the stadium and really look at Nashville next week, right in the heart of these bills being signed into law and more of them passing. The NCAA is just the start of what Tennessee is going to feel for no reason. These bills are in search of a problem. There's no reason for them, and all they do is discriminate. Literally, one bill has been watered down so much that all it is doing is putting discrimination in a green book to sit on a shelf. That's wrong. That is wrong for business, and they have made it clear that they are unhappy with this.
The NCAA, we have the SEC tournament here in Nashville. Are you saying the SEC tournament won't be coming back to Nashville, or what's the situation with the SEC tournament specifically?
Well, it'll be interesting to see how this develops. what they have said at this point with just the athlete bill passing, which is right now the only one that has been signed into law. There are several that are waiting to have the governor's signature and become law. But just with that one bill passing, the NCAA said they wouldn't consider bringing new tournaments to states that have discriminatory legislation. So it may not affect what we currently have, but it will affect what we are trying to get and grow and bring to Tennessee. And what I'm afraid of is we continue, I mean, there is a possibility that 5 pieces of anti-LGBT discriminatory legislation will end up passing by the end of this legislative session. I guarantee you there will be major fallout from the NCAA to, entertainers bringing concerts here, employers bringing jobs here, when all of that is, when the ink dries on those bills being signed into law.
So you're up there every day. You're up at the legislature almost every day. You're saying one of these bills has passed, and we could have up to 4 more. Is that right?
That's right. So the anti-transgender student-athlete bill, which said that you had to compete in high school sports under the gender of your birth, so it's clearly targeting transgender people, passed. The governor signed it. When the governor endorsed that bill and said he looked forward to signing it, everything changed up at the legislature. You could feel they were like, we're not stopping this because the governor's embraced it. And it was a turning point, an unfortunate turning point. And then it was this, they were all hell-bent to pass as much discrimination as they could, and that's what they've done. So the athlete bill is law. Right now, the bathroom bill 2.0, which is a bathroom bill, let's say this, the first bathroom bill to pass any state since the 2016 North Carolina bathroom bill that brought down $3.75 billion in economic harm to that state. Today, this morning, the Senate passed that bill. The House passed it on Monday, and now it will go to the governor, and he has said that he is going to sign it. At that point, we will become the first state since North Carolina to have a bathroom bill that has passed. That, frankly, is embarrassing. We should all be embarrassed and furious of that. I can't believe that we are still talking about and trying to deal with where people go to the bathroom. I thought we had moved beyond that. So you got the bathroom bill. And then there's an opt-out of LGBT teaching. It allows parents to opt their children out of being taught anything related to LGBT issues in school. That has passed the House and the Senate, and it's going to be signed into law by the governor. He has also came out last week and said he plans to sign that bill. Then you move to what is still out there. Today, a bathroom signage bill, which requires businesses to post on their front door and then on the bathrooms of their bathroom doors inside their business, a sign that says that business has inclusive bathroom policy, meaning the company doesn't care where you go to the bathroom, but because they don't care and they're an inclusive company, they have to now buy a sign and put it on the door. What they're actually doing is putting a target on their door. Target, the store, was targeted when they came out with their inclusive bathroom policy in 2016, and a man went and shot up the bathrooms. So you're putting a target on the front door of businesses that are inclusive and giving them a cost to pay for and being discriminatory. That passed the Senate Judiciary today and looks to pass the Senate next week. It's already passed the House. You have a trans hormone ban, which is waiting for the House to vote on it next week. And then it will become law. It will go to the governor. And then you have, I'm sorry, it's hard to keep all of these separate. So you have the bathroom bill, opt-out bill, the bathroom signage bill, and then the trans hormone ban is the other one. It's looking to have a vote in the House, and then it's on to be signed by the governor. It controls the hormones that transgender youth need. But this is the point about this bill. It says you can't. It basically states that you can't do what is already not able to be done. They don't prescribe to prepubescent minors already, but that's what the bill takes on. So it's the one that I said is literally just passing discrimination and putting it in a book.
Wow. Okay, that's a very good. It's good to kind of run down all of these, and my question is, and you kind of answer this: is this happening in other states? Certainly, we knew about North Carolina. They got in trouble. I don't feel like these are being written by necessarily Tennessee lawmakers. You know, so where is all of this coming from? Is this something we're seeing across the country? Kind of where do we stand there?
So the athlete bill was in 27 states this year. So it was a bill put forth by a conservative group to to whip up the base and to raise money from people, create a wedge issue. Former President Trump spoke about transgender athletes at CPAC, and it took fire across the states. We are one of 3 states that have passed that bill. Idaho passed it last year. It's already been deemed unconstitutional, which was another stupid reason to try and pass it when you see another state that's done it and it's already deemed unconstitutional. You're just bringing the discrimination and the harm that comes with that, but then you're also just inflicting the taxpayers of Tennessee with lawsuits and legal action that they're going to, because the state's going to have to fight it there in the courts. 27 states. Tennessee's passed it, Arkansas's passed it. It's up in a lot of other states. So the athlete bill is definitely the one that is moving forward across the country. And you can see that that is a national campaign. Tennessee takes the cake though, because, you know, since 2016, we have had the most anti-LGBT bills put forth. Over 70 bills Tennessee legislators have put forth since 2015. That's more than any other state. We're the state that has had the most extreme transgender healthcare ban. We are the state that has had a bathroom bill up every single year since the 2016 North Carolina bathroom bill. We've brought this thing back every single year in a new form. And unfortunately, 5 years later, it looks like bathroom bill 2.0 is going to be signed into law. They finally figured out how to get this thing through. It's been killed every single year. This year, it's going to pass. And again, the first one since 2016.
Wow. All right, one of the bills you mentioned, a bill allowing parents to opt their children out of LGBTQ related content in classrooms. All right, so let's talk about that one. There might be some people who say, okay, great, I can opt out of that. I don't see a problem with that. Let's go through that. What is the concern there, and kind of what's the origin of that bill?
The bill sponsor says that LGBT issues should be taught at the home. They shouldn't be taught in schools to everybody. And I was asked about that, what I thought about the sponsor's reasoning for this bill. Well, one, I think it's insulting that he doesn't think LGBT issues should, rise to the level of being, taught in public schools, and it affects so many different things. When you think about the contributions LGBT people have made to the arts, to the sciences, in history, talking about movements, civil rights struggles, all of that is not allowed to be talked about. But where does it stop? So, all right, you think LGBT issues should be taught at the home. What's next? Black history? Do you think Black history should not be taught in majority white schools because that can be taught at the home? What about, Jewish faith or Islamic faith? Do we only teach Christianity? Do we only teach about, where does it stop? When you take out something from being taught in the schools, specifically when it targets a marginalized community, who's next? This is what discrimination's all about. Right now, transgender people are easy targets because there's not a lot of transgender people out there, and there's a lot of misinformation and uneducation about transgender people. So they're an easy target. That's why you're seeing these bills, because you've got to other and attack somebody. It's no longer okay to attack lesbian and gays because we polled at 56% with Republicans and 90% with independents on it being accepted and gays and lesbians being welcome in society, and same-sex marriage is now so popular. So you can't attack the LGBT community anymore. So let's just carve off the transgender end of it and attack them, because that's gender identity and that's different and people don't understand it. So it's an easy target. That's what all of this is. It's a fundraising tool for people to raise money off of discrimination, to make the piece of their base feel, I don't know what they feel. I don't understand the hatred or the uncomfortableness that comes with discriminatory legislation. Right. I just don't get it.
So, and I think you're right, there's a lot of misinformation out there. And so, all right, so when it comes to like this bill about opting children out of LGBTQ related content, my question would be, how much LBGTQ related content is there right now in classrooms? I mean, is this something that is happening all the time or not? And what are the ages at which children are exposed to this? I guess what is, because anytime you start talking about sex, whether it be heterosexual or whatever, parents are going to get all kind of freaked out. And so I wonder how much is even being taught, would be my question. Do we have data on that?
Well, I do think it comes up. I mean, I think when you talk sex ed or you're talking about biology and sexuality issues in school, it's natural that sexual, orientation comes up. Some people are straight, some people are gay, some people are bisexual, and that's where it's saying you can't talk about that. There's rules in this bill to say, well, what if it's brought up by a student off the cuff? Can the teacher answer that? To me, it wasn't clear what the law actually says in response to that. They have to give 30 days notice to teach something LGBT related. They have to send home the permission slip 30 days in advance and get the parents to sign it and to say that it's okay to teach that. So it's even putting the emphasis on the ones that want to be taught versus the ones that are trying to opt out. The bill is just wrong. And again, where does it stop? It's LGBT issues now. To your point on other things, there's a similar bill that didn't move forward. It's still alive, and we'll see it next year, but it didn't get the hearing it needed in the Senate Education Committee. But it tries to wipe out LGBT issues in schools, not so if you had a gay playwright, you can't teach their play. If you have, in history books, you have to take out the section of Stonewall talking about the history of the gay rights movement. The opt-out bill allows you to not have to be taught about that. But the other bill that they're trying to still pass, and we'll see it up next year, tries to actually remove it. It can't even be talked about. It can't be in textbooks. It can't even be opted in to teach it.
Wow, interesting. Okay, we have the first of some of our calls. I want to go to Reverend Fuzz. Reverend Fuzz, always great to hear from you.
Hey, Ben. I got a quick question, okay?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Okay, who's sponsoring these bills? Are they Democrat or Republican? And does your organization or other organizations who are mobilizing to respond by getting votes out to take those people who are doing this kind of stuff out of office? What are those kind of plans? That's it, Ben. Okay,
Reverend Fuzz, thank you. Always great to hear from you. Thank you, Reverend Fuzz. All right, what about that?
It's a great question. And Reverend Fuzz has called in the last 2 times I've been on Open Line. So he's my regular caller and always has great questions. It's a great question. We are one of the groups that is opposing these. We take it from the business impact, from the economic impact. We're a Chamber of Commerce. We're a nonpartisan organization, so we work with Democrats and Republicans. We don't take sides in politics. We represent our members, and our members have made it clear on this issue. But it's also about LGBT equality in the workplace and society, so we take it on from that angle. We are not a partisan organization, nor are the groups working against these bills. They're LGBT organizations that fight against discrimination of LGBT people. The Tennessee Equality Project is the grassroots equality organization in the state. They're very active. They mobilize individuals. we bring the business community. You have the ACLU that gets involved in the courts after these bills are passed, but they also work to stop these bills from moving forward. You have this year seen the pediatricians engage on this issue, because pediatricians in the transgender hormone ban were to be placed in jail, to be fined for treating children. So the pediatricians have gotten involved. You've had a multitude of different business organizations. So we, the chamber, organized the letter and kind of help inform everybody of what's going on. But you have seen corporations, let's take, for example, Amazon, who spoke out at our letter release, and who have been engaged in this from the start when they came to Tennessee. They're engaged as well as a company because it affects them directly. So not only are they working through the chamber, and Tennessee Thrives is another group, it's a pledge you sign that discrimination doesn't belong in Tennessee, and then it's an information tool for you to stay updated on what is happening. But they've engaged directly as well. You've got national groups as well watching all of this. The Human Rights Campaign and then Freedom for All Americans are two national groups that work against discriminatory legislation.
It's a Republican supermajority. I'm going to bet these bills are primarily coming from Republicans. There are not that many Democrats up there, frankly. But I wonder also the impact of rural versus urban. I mean, I think he asked specifically about which party, and I would think it's Republican. But how much is rural versus urban involved in all of this?
You are exactly right. I'm sorry I missed that part of the question. 100% of every discriminatory anti-LGBT bill, all 70 of them since 2015, have been filed by Republicans. Some of these Republicans and the ones that allow it to move forward, our former Speaker of the House, Glenn Cassida, who attacked businesses for speaking out against discriminatory legislation and told them that they should stay out of politics. You know, that's funny because he was always the first one in line to take their check, but then when he doesn't like what they're saying, he told them to stay out of politics. You know, all of these pro-business Republicans, so-called pro-business, are the ones allowing these bills to move forward. To the point of who sponsors them and puts them out there, they're 100% Republican, and the ones that sponsor them and move them forward, for the most part, 90%, I would say, are rural Republicans, where they don't have LGBT people in their districts that they're hearing from or that they know. They have LGBT people in their districts, they may not know them. Interesting thing about every one of these bills around transgender people, not one legislator who has proposed anti-trans legislation has spoken to a transgender person. They have been asked in committees, and they have been asked on the floor of the Senate and the House by Democrats if they talk to transgender individuals, the people that these bills impact, and their answer is always no. They haven't even talked to the people their bill is impacting.
Wow. And now part of that, I think you said last time, there are just not that many, right? I mean, we're talking about a very small number here. And this is a difficult time with COVID. I mean, and so normally a question like that, it seems like there should be a group of people up there saying, I'm opposed to this bill, I'm transgender, and I wish you would vote against it. Maybe they can't do that because of COVID, but also part of it is we're not talking about a huge number of people here, right?
No, you're talking about a very small number of people. 0.2% of the population, the U.S. population, 0.2% is estimated to be transgender. That just came out in a new Gallup study. Only 5.7% of the U.S. population is LGBT. And then you break the transgender portion of that apart, and it breaks it down even further. So a very small number of people. Last time on this show, we kept having callers call in because it was around the athlete bill passing. And they were saying things like, why can't transgender people have their own team? Just give them their own bathroom and give them their own team and basically create another. And my answer was, well, we've tried separate and equal. It didn't work out. We've seen how that plays out. We're not going back to that. but you also couldn't field a team. You would be hard to field, a tennis couples tournament in tennis with LGBT people wanting to play sports, or transgender people wanting to play sports. Transgender people are trying to get through high school, which is already extremely difficult. They're trying to, not be bullied. They're trying to deal with so many other issues. And we had a parent testify that said, I would love for my trans child to want to play sports, because it meant that they were thriving and able to deal with so many other things and go and play sports. It would be a wonderful thing to have, but they're dealing with so many other things. And the impact on the people impacted is what we really should focus on. We bring the business economic impact, but it's thinking of them, an already marginalized community, being targeted by state legislators day after day after day, week after week. There's something new passing, telling them that they are not worthy or normal or accepted. Suicide rates with LGBT people are actually on the rise, especially in the South. They had dipped for a while, but they've always been high. Transgender individuals have the highest suicide rates of any other group. And when you are attacked by leaders at the state level, that just adds to that isolation. It adds to that feeling of not being accepted. And I hope that their parents are accepting and supportive. And if they're not, then I hope you know that there are people out there fighting for you, and you matter. And we're working for you to, be your authentic self and bring your whole self to school and to the workplace, and that you're not alone, and it gets better, because I think that message needs to continue to get out there to those that are affected.
All right, let's go to another call here. This is a long first segment. Why not? Let's go to Mike. Hello, Mike. Are you there?
Hey, Ben. Good evening.
Yeah, go ahead.
And your guest. First of all, whoever drew the emblem for the Nashville LGBTQ, that is a beautiful symbol of the N representing the Nashville branch. But first of all, a lot of people don't realize how much money we're really losing. Yeah, we're gaining a lot of companies and everything, but people don't even realize that Tim Cook Apple was the first company that reached $1 trillion in worth. You don't think Tim Cook doesn't study the politics? You think he wants to come to a state and bring a part of his company here when we have all these antiquated laws? Whether you're straight or whatever you are, if you truly care about the economy, you've got people in these powerful positions that could give us really a lot of impact with their money. And we're just blowing it because we want to talk about people who are protesting in front of the state capitol. We got people, within a week they passed a law where now that's a felony to be in the state grounds. And they debate the silliest things. If you ever get a chance to view it, it's on channel, public television. But we need to get our stuff together. The potential is great for Nashville, but we still have an undercurrent of ignorance, the good old boy system, and it's really costing us even more money than we already have. And that's my comment. You guys have a good night.
Thank you. All right, we're going to go to break after that. But what do you think? What do you think of that? What he just said?
I think he's right on. It's the message that we've been warning of, that there is economic fallout to these bills. He mentioned Tim Cook and Apple. They have taken strong stances against this. But there's other companies that are already here, and I'm worried that Tennessee is going to go too far out on this branch of discrimination, and the branch is going to break. These companies, you can only push them so far. It is about their employees at some point as well. Think of all of these jobs that we are bringing here, all of these companies. Their concern is moving to the state for this issue. Those are the calls I take from companies from California and other expensive places to do business. They're coming here for a lot of economic reasons, and their biggest concern is, will my LGBT employees and my employees that have LGBT family members, feel safe and be welcome in this state, because it sure doesn't seem like it. And I have to talk about the groups that we have here and the work that we do and sell the state. It's going to get a lot harder after 5 bills pass. And they're not going to come here because their employees won't come here. Their employees will not move to a state that's like this. We are seeing people that have been born and raised in Tennessee move across the country to go somewhere where they are protected and they feel welcome and they're included. Diversity and inclusion is the way of the future in business. It's the way of the future with young people. And these discriminatory bills, this uninclusive nature, goes against everything that we're working towards.
Okay. All right, let's take a break. We'll come back. We'll take more calls. If you want to call in, there's a number, 615-737-PLUS, 615-737-7587. Take a break. Be back right after this.